Oh, welcome. Thanks so much for joining. So today I'm going to be talking about social media, specifically using Instagram to share your work and building your visibility in the run-up to and during Ealing Beat. So just before we start properly, I thought I'd give a little bit of background on me and where this session comes from. So hello, I'm Charlotte Tompkins. I'm a social media coach working with artists, makers, and businesses. My day job for the last 15 years has been working in social media strategy and marketing, helping brands grow their visibility and engagement online. And alongside that, I'm also a ceramic artist myself. And I will be honest here, for a long time, my own Instagram account was very, very neglected. I knew how social media worked professionally, but I wasn't really applying it to my own account at all. And so when I started to build my own social media coaching and consultancy business, I decided to properly test what would happen if I applied all the same principles of social media to my own ceramics account, my own little ceramics account. And since then, my content has reached millions of views. My audience has grown really, really quickly, and it's brought in commissions and opportunities I simply wouldn't have had otherwise. And a big reason I wanted to run this session is because first of all, I want to help other people. And I think a lot of artists it's easy to assume that social media success is for other people, or it's only for influencers or full-time creators or people who really deep dive on this, or people who are naturally good at being online. But in reality, thoughtful, simple content about your work can go a really, really long way. So it doesn't need to be that complicated. And today is really about making Instagram feel simpler, more manageable, more accessible, and more useful for you, especially in promoting your work and events and your participation in events like Ealing Beat. So whether you're completely new to Instagram or if you're already posting and are just wanting to get some better results, try some different things, my aim here is to give practical ideas that you can use straight away without making it feel overwhelming. So yeah, and that's the thing. I know a lot of people do feel overwhelmed by social media or feel they should be posting more, but don't actually really know what to post or how to make it manageable, or really how do you even know whether it's making a difference or not. And so that's what we're going to look at today. We're going to focus on simple ways artists and makers are using Instagram successfully, easy content approaches that help people discover your work, and how to build some visibility before Ealing Beat. So I want to start with some reassurance and some reasons to be cheerful, because I know that people might be thinking, oh, but I don't have many followers and I don't want to post every day. And that's the thing. You don't need to. Instagram at the moment is a really good platform for artists and makers. You don't need a big following to find your people. The way that Instagram works now is the algorithm actually actively finds content and pushes content to new audiences if it's, and this is the crucial thing, if it's the right kind of content for those people. You don't need to post every day. You don't need to be hitting stuff out there all the time. Not at all. No. Consistency matters much more than frequency. And here's the thing that makes artists like us particularly well placed. Our work naturally contains things that people like watching. So think about the brush moving or the print being pulled or hands digging into clay. That movement that you're creating every time you work without even thinking about it. And the stories that keep people watching. Your work already has stories. You just need to be able to tell it. And so that all being said, I fully appreciate that there's a lot of people a lot of artists and makers are active on Instagram and they're still not being seen. Thing is, a few small changes can make a huge difference to visibility. So I will quickly explain how Instagram works, because really understanding this can remove a lot of frustration. So the thing to remember is Instagram just wants people to stay on Instagram. And so to do that, it shows people content that Instagram will knows they will enjoy, that they will watch and then they interact with. And that's why it's so damn addictive. And but that's weirdly good news for artists and makers because your work, as I said, naturally contains things that hold attention, movement, process, transformation, personality, and story. And the important thing is helping Instagram understand what your content is about and who it's for. Clearer content gives Instagram, clearer content helps Instagram understand what your content's about, and more importantly, helps you understand who might enjoy your work. So success on Instagram comes from giving clear signals through the kind of work you post and being really consistent. And so, how do you make content that actually stops people scrolling? What helps content perform? Well, a lot of it comes down to keeping things very visually interesting right from the start and easy to follow. So, people naturally enjoy watching process, movement, transformation. And the good news is for us is that our work as artists already contains all of that. Curiosity helps too. So people are naturally drawn to watching process. They want to see what's being made. They want to know how it turns out. And you don't need highly polished content for this to work. Some of the strongest maker content online is actually very, very simple. And really, the goal here is to just start sharing your work in a way that feels natural, interesting, and easy for people to connect with. And so I'll just do a quick run through of the content formats on Instagram. So Instagram lets you post content roughly in these sort of four main ways. So the first one, Reels. These are, by Reels, I mean videos, those vertical videos that you will see in your Instagram newsfeed over and over and over again. It's a lot of what you'll be seeing on Instagram. So Instagram loves Reels, and Instagram gives Reels the most reach. By this, I mean they can be seen, they can if they can be pushed out to anyone and are the format most likely to get pushed out beyond your own followers. So this is how you, reels are how you grow. Carousels. Now, a carousel, those are when you've got a cluster of photographs in one post. You've probably, again, hopefully might have seen it on your feed, and you just swipe through and you see, it's about 4, 5, it can be up to 20, but don't need to put that many. So, 4, 5, 6 different photographs in a series. That's a carousel. And they can work really well too, and they are much easier to make than reels. Um, Stories posts, um, those are the little circles that you can spot, that you can click on, and you see stories, and you can see those little pieces of content that they only last 24 hours. They will only reach your existing followers. So if you're wanting to grow, your stories will only reach people who are already following you, but they're really good at building a connection, building a community with those people who are following you. And then you've also got single photographs. So just taking a photograph, slapping it up on Instagram. Single photos, they're fine, but they can be harder to get reach with than carousels or reels. The thing to remember, I've just thrown 4 different content types at you. Fully appreciate that. You don't need to do all of these. These are just the formats that are available. And so if you're finding your feet, wanting to build a bit of confidence and get up and running, I would recommend that carousels are a good place to start. And so something that's really important to remember, particularly around social media and art, is people don't just buy your art. They're buying the story behind it, how it was made, what inspired you, the sense of connection that they might have with you as a maker. And this all helps to make your work unique and compelling in the eyes of the buyer. So, just as an example, think about the last time you bought something handmade. You probably remember the person who made it, where they were based, why they made it even. And that memory is part of the item's value to them. That's what social media lets you build. Before someone has even visited your studio, before they've even met you, social media can help you share your story. So let's start to talk a bit more specifically about content. And so one of the things I really want you all to take away from this session is this. You probably already have more content, far more content than you think you do. A lot of artists and makers assume social media means constantly inventing new ideas or creating different, highly polished videos, but actually, it's really not. Actually, it's some of the most engaging content simply comes from sharing parts of your existing creative life. So by this, I mean your process, how you make things. That's content. Your studio is content. Your materials are content. Your finished work, your story, it's all content. Even small moments, small 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds of daily making can become really, really interesting, very, very highly watched posts. So the clay on the things that just you might that just happen to us as artists, and we don't really think about them. Clay on your hands, tools laid out on a table, work in progress drying on a shelf, packing up pieces, your sketchbooks, going through the quick process of glazing, carving, printing, painting. And really importantly, this kind of content feels much more natural and sustainable to create because you're not trying to become the big Instagram content creator. You are simply sharing parts of the work that you're already doing. And so thinking about content like this can hopefully make Instagram start to feel a lot less overwhelming. And don't know about you, but I always need to see examples of what someone's been talking about. So I've dug out examples of all of those content types that I shared with you. So we'll go through these. So the first example is a really nice, simple bit of process content. It's filmed very simply, but as humans, we absolutely love watching other people work and seeing that sense of progress. So I'll just play that. And the second example is also deliberately really simple. It's someone just turning a painting around. But I'll play the video and then we'll talk. So yeah, simple, turning a painting around. But doing so gives a sense of suspense. And then you get the payoff of, and here's the picture, which works really well on social media. And then the third example is one of those quiet moments from daily making that I mentioned. I'll just quickly play that. So it's really just a quiet moment. Just think of it as like a snippet of the process, about 10 seconds, 7, 10 seconds, something like that. And this probably didn't take very long to film at all. And it's very simple to edit, but these quiet moments can be surprisingly powerful on social media. And they create a lovely sense of calm in a very crazy, busy world. And so here are some examples of how artists share their studio, their materials, and their story. So the studio post, that's up in the left, that's in the left-hand side. It's a carousel of images. I think there are about 5 or 6, and I've just shown the first two here, but it's nice because it gives a sense of the person behind the art in a relatable and an engaging way. The materials post as well. That's also a carousel. And again, I've just shown the first two images. And it's useful to people. And Instagram loves giving people useful content. So it's useful because it gives practical advice, but it also subtly includes images of their work, which is really good too. And I'll just play you the story post. And I included this because it's also really simple to film. They just prop the camera up on something, put it on time lapse, hit play, and they showed something progressing. And in this case, it was sketchbooks on a table. It's a really simple idea, and the words on the screen told a very simple story. So what I'd like you to take away with you today, is that content doesn't need to be complicated, doesn't need to be polished. People connect with people, and they're really wanting to discover artists and discover stories, process. They want to know a bit about the personality, and they like to see a little bit of behind the scenes. And that's content that works really well on Instagram. Whoops, let's go back. So it's not about being perfect. Hopefully I've communicated that enough now. It's about consistency, because posting content consistently about the same topic, of whether it's ceramics or whether it's painting, whatever your thing is, it's about that gives Instagram signals, and so it can understand what content you create. So it's about consistency. It's about creating visibility, creating a sense of connection by that bit of humanity. And no, you don't necessarily have to show your face on screen to create a connection. Think about that story post. We didn't see the person, we just heard a bit about their story. That creates a connection, and helping people discover your work. So let's get into Beat. So let's get really specific about what's coming up in September, because I want to give you a nice framework on what to post and when. And so you're not starting from scratch every time you open up Instagram. So phase one is now, and it runs until about mid-August. So what you want to be doing in this phase is to start to get active if you're not active, and if you are, just keep posting to build visibility and curiosity. So you're warming up your existing followers, and you're also, by being active, starting to attract new ones. And in terms of posting frequency, to be honest, once a week is absolutely fine. I tend to post once a week. So unless you're posting more frequently than that, which is absolutely fine. So it's not a it's not a big deal. It's not a big ask. So use that one post a week to try out some of the content types that we've covered. So the process, the satisfying moments, the quiet moments, those finished pieces, and start mentioning beat. So here's what I'm making for Ealing Beat is a completely natural caption hook, but really you're not promoting Ealing Beat and your participation of that right now. You're really mainly just being active and building an audience, so that when you do start to talk about Ealing Beat, they will pay a bit more attention. And this is a good time to post something that also introduces you as a person, not just your work. So if you're feeling comfortable, that is a series of photographs that are just using images that you might already have on your phone. Add some on-screen text. As I said, if you don't want to have your face on social media, you don't have to. So you could talk about where your studio is, or how long you've been making, or what got you into it. And the reason you're doing this is that people follow people. So by doing this, you can give them a reason to follow you. So pin that post about you as a person to the top of your profile, so people can see something about you as soon as they land on your Instagram page. And here's an example of an about the artist carousel. I've deliberately chosen photos that aren't massively professional. But really to show that visuals need to be clear and eye-catching, but it's also about telling your story and sharing something about you as an artist and as a person that helps build connection with buyers. Then phase two kicks in at the end of August. And at this point, people are starting to decide what they're actually going to do during those September weekends. So your content now shifts from general visibility to giving people a reason to visit you specifically. So let people know you'll be taking part in Ealing Beat. Try not to only post poster style announcements. The content that usually works best will still feel personal and visual. So to do this, show pieces you're finishing for the event. Show your space being prepped. Share what visitors can expect when they arrive. And this is also the time to start to get practical. So share your opening times, address, parking information, how people can find you. You're wanting to make visiting seem as easy and as natural as possible. And also collaborate with other artists where you can. So share each other's posts, comment on them, tag one another. The more visible Ealing Beat becomes overall, the more visitors, everyone, all of us benefit from that. So I'm going to share a few examples of people posting about their own open studio type events. And the first video is basically just a studio tour. There's no complicated editing or talking to camera. It simply gives people a sense of the space and what it might feel like to visit. What I liked here is that the text worked to provide the context and the information, and the movement through the studio kept it really visually engaging. Really nice, simple video. The next example is a lovely reminder. Content doesn't need to always center around finished work. Sometimes a simple bit of video works when it's just sharing a really nice, exciting, relatable moment that feels important to in the artist's story. And I'll just share this so you can see what I'm talking about. That's a really nice, heartwarming moment. And the movement of the little booklet opening, the text on the screen, it all gives people just a reason to stop scrolling and pay attention. And you'll probably notice that none of these rely on being loud or complicated or polished or really clever. They're very simple, very visual, and very human. And that's often what works best for artists and makers. A few small filming and editing choices here can definitely help strengthen this type of content, which is something that I teach much more depth in some of my workshops. But hopefully this shows you don't need a full production setup to create posts that genuinely connect with people. And so during Ealing Beat itself, simple real-time content works really well. So you're going to be busy, you're going to be focused on people in your studio. So before you open in the morning, post a quick reel showing your space ready for visitors. Use natural light, show the display, maybe a few finishing touches being added. And then throughout the day, your stories are perfect for sharing the atmosphere, people browsing, conversations happening, little moments in the studio. And if visitors are happy being photographed, always ask their permission. Content showing people interacting with your work can be especially powerful because it helps future visitors imagine themselves there too. And importantly, this content doesn't need to be polished. In fact, slightly more natural, immediate content often works better because it feels real, feels current. And remember, you don't need to feel like you're creating an advert. In fact, do not create an advert. You're simply giving people a window into what it feels like to come and visit you. And so before we finish, if today's been helpful and you'd like to keep building on it, I've got a few follow-on workshops coming up. So the Instagram Foundations workshop, 23rd of May, is for anyone who wants help getting comfortable with Instagram itself. How to set up your profile, getting comfortable with just the idea of posting what you might want to post, uh, writing captions, understanding how it all works. This sort of ties all of that together. Then the content for makers workshop is for anyone who is already posting, but it's not really working, and they're getting stuck on what to film and how to make content more engaging. And that's exactly what we'll go into. This workshop gets into what makes content successful on Instagram, the very specific, the filming techniques, editing, the hooks, the storytelling. And I'm also running a third workshop later in July, which is all about going further, growing more and more visibility, and then turning that attention to actual sales. All are bookable on Eventbrite, and the QR code on the screen takes you to a page with all the details. So thank you. Thank you very much.